From United Nations Television, this is UN in Action.
Boomtown. This is Baku, Azerbaijan's capital on the Caspian Sea. Vast oil reserves are fueling massive construction and a drastic reduction in poverty. Good news for some, but for others, it's brought terror right into the home. A group of police officers and city workers surround a building and smash their way into an apartment owned by librarian Nuria Kalikova. She captures what happens on her small camera.
Who are you and why are you here, wandering in my apartment?
No one answers Nuria's questions. This is a scene that's being repeated right across Azerbaijan. On one side, developers with the power of new money, and in many cases the authorities behind them, are sweeping away old and often unsanitary housing. On the other, communities argue they're being forced out of their own homes without regard for the law.
We have a huge problem in Azerbaijan related to the property rights.
Rina Safarilieva works for Transparency International, a group that promotes the rule of law and monitors corruption worldwide.
We have a construction boom, and we had and still have lots of old houses without proper sanitation, which have to be demolished. So I am not against this tendency as such, but the way the issue is handled leaves much more to be desired.
But Nuria's recorded images became a campaign film and drew attention of the activists who quickly picked up her case. They argue that women like her need greater power to defend their rights. Some residents are planning to respond to their eviction by taking the case to the European Court of Human Rights, which has been available to Azeri citizens since 2002. And in the longer term, Transparency International's Rina Safarilieva and a group of female activists led by this campaigner are pushing for further human rights reforms to protect people like Nuria. Together, they've created a women's parliament.
No matter how many difficulties and problems we might have at the moment, I believe in the future of Azerbaijan because I believe in the people of Azerbaijan.
Shakla Ismail is the founder of Azerbaijan's Women's Parliament. It's an initiative which is being nurtured and monitored by the United Nations Democracy Fund, UNDEF. The goal is to empower women by giving them a greater say over their own lives. To achieve this, they're aiming to increase women's representation in government.
Nobody's going to make the revolution for us. It might take a year, it might take 10 years, but anyway, this is something which should come from us, and this is in our hands.
Near to Nuria's former apartment block, a women's crisis center provided counseling for local residents. But the center itself was demolished, seemingly leaving people without hope. But Nuria's determination has not been in vain. Nuria's film, with the support from activists, has helped draw international attention to the situation in Baku. After the destruction of the Women's Crisis Center, the spokesperson for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights called on the Azerbaijani authorities to investigate forced evictions in Baku and, if necessary, provide adequate compensation and restitution. Nuria herself has now found an apartment to live in. After borrowing heavily, she was able to buy one in the city. A survivor, she is now intent on moving on with her life.
I want to live in peace, to have a normal life. I don't want to worry about the roof being demolished over my head. I just want to live in peace.
This report was produced by Francis Mead for the United Nations.